Hi guys, this is Studio X, and today I will be doing a tutorial on a bullet impact effect done with Cinema 4D and After Effects. So let's see the final result. So for this tutorial, you're only going to need two things. One is the image of the eye into which the bullet will be impacting. And the second is a 360 image that you can capture with any iPhone app. Basically, you can just go to the App Store and download a 360 app, and it doesn't have to be a good 360. It just has to basically get a general environment of where you took this photo. So let's get started. Let's open up Cinema 4D and start our composition. Make the render settings 1920 by 1080. I'm gonna apply the texture of the photo that I took. Perfect. And make a second material with the 360. And do that in the luminance channel. So let's make a sky, apply the 360 to the sky, and go to Cinema 4D tags, compositing, and uncheck the scene by camera. That way when you render, you don't see it. Then go into background and apply the photo that you took to the background. So that will give us a general idea of where the eye is. So, and the same thing for that, just go to compositing and uncheck scene by camera. That way when you render, you don't see it. So let's save the project. Perfect. So now you can start working on the bullet. You're gonna start with a capsule. You're gonna rotate the capsule. Then you're gonna select the polygon faces, make the object editable. Go into the top view, press and hold the selection button, and choose rectangular selection and uncheck only select visible elements. And select just the backside of them, and you can just hit delete and get rid of them. So now we basically have a shape of a bullet. Now we just need to connect the backside of it. So for this, you are going to go to the faces again and right click and go to close polygon hole, press and click on it, then go into the edge selection, go into the live selection tool, press UL on the keyboard, and you'll be able to select a circle. Okay, but it's giving us an issue, so I'm just gonna have to select it by hand. I'm just gonna do this. Okay, perfect. And I'm gonna go into the bevel tool, and I'm just gonna bring it out a little, and then I'll go to the face and select the back face, and just do a inner extrude. and and just do it a couple of times just to get more subdivisions on the back. And that should be good. So now we have a bullet. So let's give it a material and save the project. So I'm just gonna go into the content browser and select a tarnished brass material and apply it to the bullet. So I shot this photo with make a new camera and then just whatever you shot it with. So I shot it with a 55mm lens, but it had a crop factor of 1.6, I think, so 1.6 times 55, so you're getting an 88. So it was an 88mm lens. 88 is the focal length. Okay, perfect. So now I'm just gonna zoom out and frame it nicely to where the eye is. So this is where all the impact is going to be happening, and right there. So now it's time to move the bullet and scale it and do all that kind of work. So I think it needs to be smaller. Let's not forget to keep saving the projects. So I'm gonna make the bullet a lot smaller, maybe even smaller than that, so 0.4. Boom, there we go. So, and it's gonna hit the eye right here. This is where it's gonna be. So let's just give it a quick render and see how it's starting to look. That's starting to look pretty nice. So if we just keep the background on, just so we can see it. Yeah, so we are getting a pretty good look over here. Obviously this is nowhere close to the final result, so let's start making the bullet actually deform once it hits the eye. So what we're gonna start doing is we're gonna lock this camera in place. So I'm just gonna put protection on this camera just so I don't touch it by accident. And we are gonna make a shape of the eye, which is just a simple sphere. Make a sphere really big. Accidentally made it too big. Move it right in front of the bullet. Right there, perfect. So that's going to be our eye. We are going to go to compositing and uncheck scene by camera. That's going to be our deformer. What we are going to do is we are going to put an effector on this. So let's choose a twist. Bring the capsule in closer. There we go. So now when we're using the effector, it's twisting it. So we can use that to deform and apply on collision. So we're gonna put that under the capsule. And for colliders, we're gonna choose sphere. So you can see it gets broken, it gets bent. So what we are gonna do now is we're gonna set our timescale to 240 frames, and at 120th frame we are gonna push the bullet all the way in. I'm thinking somewhere here. And at frame 0, I'm just gonna push it all the way back out of frame. So and keep this a linear. So for the collision, let's see what we can do. Let's see how much more we can push it. And at frame 160, I'm gonna group both of these together into a new group. And so from 120 to 160, I'm gonna push those back. And rotate it. And keyframe it. Okay, so now we're gonna go into, we're actually gonna have to make the bullet spin first as well. But let's get the animation looking better first. So let's go into, actually let's make it spin first. That would be a way better idea. Okay, so gonna go into the capsule. And on keyframe 0, I'm just gonna rotate this and just do negative, I don't know, 360. Apply keyframe, and let's see. And I'm going to make sure this is linear, so it's already flying. And so now we can go into timeline. We're going to go into the capsule, rotation, find the rotation, yep. So I'm going to extend the spinning for the entire composition. And for the position, we're going to check it out and see what we have here. So this null has its own position as well, which I'm gonna offset and move. So I'm gonna offset this, all of these actually, a little bit. And offset the rotation actually more than the position. There we go, and I'm just going to slow down the rotation by a lot. So I'm just going to take it and just stretch it all the way out. So let's check this out. Boom, there we go. So, and maybe I'll push the position back a little bit as well, so it plays even more slowly. So now it just looks like it gets crushed. There we go. So let's see how this looks with the background. So the bullet is spinning, flying, and then it's hitting the eye, and it's bouncing back. Perfect. Okay, so I think the position is still moving way too quickly, so I'm gonna move it over. There we go. And I'm just gonna make sure that it goes down, that the bullet falls. Yep. There we go. Looking pretty nice. Let's check this out. Perfect. So now let's look at the bullet. Perfect. And we're just going to make sure that we don't see the sphere. There we go. So now it's just the bullet. Alright, so now the Cinema 4D part is almost over. I'm just gonna add a ambient occlusion. And yeah, I think that should be good. The rest can be done in After Effects. So now I'm just gonna render this sequence out, and let's move into After Effects. So I'm just gonna select all frames. I'm gonna render this as a EXR. Open EXR. Lossy 16-bit float zip in blocks of 16 scan lines. And I'm actually gonna uncheck save, and I'm gonna check multipass because I want to save the depth pass, the motion vector. So let's find that. Motion vector, position pass, which is I think in here. Position pass. Okay, depth, motion vector, and position path. Perfect. So, and I'm just gonna again choose the EXR. Perfect. With the alpha channel. And find the location. So bullet impact, and call it bullet render. Okay, perfect. So I'll start rendering, and I'll be back in After Effects to show you the rest of the video. Okay, so now we are in After Effects, and let's drop our footage in here, which is the photo of the eye, and let's open the video that we rendered. So there we go. Open EXR image sequence. Perfect. So let's make a new composition. 1920 by 1080. Perfect. Let's drop our photo in here. And just right click on it, transform, fit to comp with. Perfect. And now let's put our bullet sequence up on top. Okay. So now I'm just gonna move the eye down so it matches with where the bullet hits. Perfect. So what we are gonna do now is we are going to make a new adjustment layer and call it motion blur. And I'm using a plugin called Real Smart Motion Blur. And I'm gonna duplicate this map, this layer, and go into layer, pre-compose, move attributes, and I'm just gonna call it motion. And I'm gonna open it and go into effect, 3D channel, extractor, click on this and choose motion vector and hit OK. So now we're gonna hide the motion, move it above the motion blur, and in the motion blur we're gonna choose motion as our motion blur layer. And let's zoom in and take a look. Looks good. So what we are gonna do now is we are going to add a shadow to the eye and a reflection to it as well. So to do that, we can basically just fake it. So I'm gonna just take this bullet, duplicate it, choose the pan behind tool, select the bullet, rotate tool, rotate it, and I'm also going to stretch it out. There we go. Move it under effects and presets, tint, map that to black, blur, fast blur, 50 pixels, maybe like 30, and opacity to I don't know, 40. And I'm just gonna stretch it out more so it covers the screen. So I'm gonna rotate it more just so it goes down the face. Yep. Perfect. And I'm also gonna apply a displacement map. So displacement map, place it on, and the displacement map is going to be the original image, and let's displace it by 10 and 10, and we're just going to select red for both. Perfect. I'm going to rotate it even more because I don't think this is enough. There we go. And opacity, I'm just going to make it a lot lighter so you can barely see it. Perfect. So now we are going to need a aspect ratio crop. So I'm just going to do anamorphic. And I have a picture saved, but you can just Google anamorphic lines, PNG, and you'll be able to find literally the exact same image. There you go, anamorphic line crop. And I think this needs more motion blur. Or actually, this is good. So now we're gonna make another layer, new adjustment layer, and call this DOF, depth of field. And just like before, we're gonna duplicate this layer and go to layer, pre-compose, and I'm gonna call this depth pass. So go in here, once again, go into effect, 3D channel extractor, choose depth, hit OK. So we're gonna go to levels and really play with this value because there is not much in here to play with. Okay. So from far away it's at 148, the brightness, and when it hits it's also 148. Okay, so that's not even gonna matter. So we don't even need the depth map at this point because it doesn't really travel anywhere else. Actually, let's keep it, and this is what we're gonna do. So if you have this plugin by Verschluft, I don't know, it's a really good lens blurring plugin, which lets you really play with the iris. So I'm going to make this a 6-sided iris, negative 0.25. Okay, perfect. So at this point, I'm going to keyframe the focal point. But before I do that, I'm going to select a radius and just see what kind of blurring we can get. Oh, I need to select depth pass. I was selecting the wrong layer by accident. Okay. There we go. And I'm going to keyframe the focal point, and I'm going to move back in time. And just make it maybe like 180. Yep, there we go. So now the bullet is out of focus. Perfect. So let's save this project. Looks good. So now I'm gonna make a new null object, and I'm gonna pre-compose everything in here. So pre-comp, yep. And I'm gonna whip this to the null object, and with position and scale, I'll keyframe these two values. That way I can zoom in to the point of impact. There we go. And this, we are gonna make another null object and hold Option while selecting the keyframe button and just type in wiggle 0.5, comma, I don't know, 20. And connect that to this. So now you're gonna get a very slight wiggling on top of everything else that's going on. So now to make the ripples in the eyes, you're going to need to come back in here. Make a new adjustment layer. New adjustment layer. And call this eye displace. Perfect. And we're going to copy this picture and make a new composition. Paste the photo so you know where the eye happens, and make a new solid. Make it comp size, make it white, hit OK, hide it, select the ellipse tool, hold Option and Shift and Command at the same time, and make a circle. So now you can make it visible, duplicate the mask, do subtract, move the mask expansion down, and now you can keyframe both of these. So let's zoom in a little, and so let's keep these on keyframe 20 and just mask path and path. We were supposed to keyframe the expansion by accident instead of the path. Okay, here we go. Okay, so now you go back down and expand this down. There we go. So now it's coming out like this, and just bring this all the way out, farther than where the eye is, so it disappears. Actually, keep it visible like this, yeah. Perfect. So this is going to be the displacement, but let's go and also do turbulent displace, just so we can have very little bit. So let's bring up the complexity a lot and bring the amount down. And there we go. Really bring the complexity up. Okay, perfect. So hide the picture, go back to this pre-comp, and for eye displace, we can bring down our comp 2, which was the eye impact. So let's bring that in, hide it, and for eye displace, we're gonna do displacement map, displacement map, eye displace, or eye impact, and it's going to be on lightness and lightness. Okay, so we are gonna go and find where the bullet impacts the eye. Right there. And let's turn on eye impact and bring it all the way back. Boom. So for the eye displace layer, we are gonna mask the area of where the eye is. There we go. And just hit MM and feather it by 10 pixels. So now we're seeing a displacement in the eye. And to make it more visible, let's also make this visible. Just bring it down in opacity. And let's take the same mask, copy, and paste. There we go. Bring it under all the motion blur, all those layers. Perfect. Make this. Let's play. Yep, soft light looks pretty good. And we're going to move this under the bullet. There we go. And the displacement, we're going to move under the bullet as well. Perfect. So now we just need to time it. Perfect. Perfect. Beautiful. So now that we have all of this in here, and it's looking real nice, we can give it some color correction and we should be good to go. So we're just gonna make a new adjustment layer, bring it under the anamorphic lines, and I'm just gonna use Magic Bullet Looks and give it a nice cinematic look. So let's see what we got. Maybe we'll color correct the bullet separately as well. So a little chromatic aberration. There we go, looking nice. So let's bring back the motion blur and the depth of field layers. I don't know why they're not working right now. Motion, depth of field. So it's the motion blur layer for some reason. So we're also going to add a new light, and the light is going to be up here. It's going to be connected to this null object so that we're having some motion on it. Make a new solid. Select Video Copilot Optical Flares. And we'll just choose some kind of green flare. Or we'll go to Pro Presets. Choose Russian. Do track lights, screen, bring it under the anamorphic lines, and give it a smaller brightness. Perfect. Perfect. Awesome. Looking great. Another thing we could do is add a layer of smoke in front. But you don't have to. Yeah, I probably won't, because everything is happening in super slow motion, so it wouldn't even make any sense. So this is the final result. I hope you liked this tutorial and learned some new tricks. If you are looking to watch more tutorials, you can subscribe to my channel. Make sure to give it a like and comment if you have any questions or suggestions for later videos. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.